You come up and say hi? YouTube hasn't met you yet. Little camera shy. Before we get started building the bill of materials to be able to start turning all of these raw cells into batteries, I wanted to take a few minutes to answer a few of the common questions that came up on the last video. You've been like ignoring me all day. I turn on the camera. Fine, I have to get the camera to show you. Hey, Picatso. I have never seen a cat shed so much in my life. Hey, Picatso. Oh, who's coming? Oh, it's Mr. Tatters. It's been a while since we had a kitty interlude, huh? All right, boys, I gotta get back to my video now. All right, I think this is like take 10. Oh. If you put your paw on my microphone, everyone's gonna hear crackling. So before I get into putting together the bill of materials to actually turn these raw cells into 6 packs, I wanted to take a few minutes to address some of the common questions that came up in the last video. Probably the most common question was, how much did it cost me? Understandable, but before I give the answer, let me remind you that the prices are very volatile, and the prices I'm giving you are including shipping, and obviously shipping is going to vary wildly depending on where you live. So take these as a rough guide only. They're also in US dollars because that's how international financing works, and I bought them from China. Oh, bye, Mr. Tatters. He's a bit chonkers, and when he landed, he just went... So my price was $12,865 US delivered for the 100 cells, which works out to 128.65. That's not that bad, all things considered. It's a lot of money. It's a very lot of money, and I haven't got the motor yet, and it's not counting the Victron Quattro. It hasn't yet factored in the galvanic isolator, the auto transformer, any of the wiring. It's not uncommon when I talk about this project, people immediately assume my motivation is to save money. When you add up what it's going to cost for the electric motor, the batteries, all the ancillary equipment, I would buy a lot of diesel, even with the current really elevated prices. Let me remind, for people who might not have seen all of the older videos, the driving force for me behind this electric conversion is noise. I hate the sound of a diesel engine, to the point where if I had to live with diesel, I might not even bother sailing. That's how much I dislike it. So if you're trying to do this from a purely cost perspective, it's really hard to make the math work. So the next question that came up a lot is weight. How does the battery weight compare to the engine, transmission, and diesel fuel tank that I'll be removing? Now, there's a lot of details that are not being accounted for in this. I don't know the weights of things like the, what do they call it, the alternator, the fuel pumps, the hoses, the plumbing, all of that stuff that goes around the engine. The book price, the book weight of the engine, the Yanmar 3QM30 is 280 kilograms. The transmission is 20 kilograms, a lot lighter than I expected, so 300 kilograms for the two of them. And then set aft in the vessel is the 30-gallon diesel tank, which when full is another 100 kilograms. That also being at the very far back of the boat has a bit more of a moment arm effect to it. So when you're dealing with a boat, nothing's really static. The point is that you're looking at about 400 kilograms for engine, transmission, and fuel tank, not factoring in all of the ancillary equipment and hoses or dealing with the moment arms or anything like that, compared to the 6 batteries, which work out to about 540 to 550 kilograms, using the 90 kilogram weight of the first prototype box that we built, which is about 140 to 150 kilograms difference, about 300 pounds. That's 1 or 2 people in the cockpit. It's really not that big of a difference on a boat the size of the boat I have. So while weight is absolutely a concern, and I'm going to be thinking about this as I put the packs together, it's one of the reasons I still favor the snake configuration, because it keeps the packs shorter, which keeps the weight more further forward towards the center point of rotation on the boat. I'm dealing with numbers that are entirely tolerable at this point. So weight is not a concern. I understand why so many people concern themselves with it, but it's not a big concern of mine. it's close enough that honestly, where I stick my luggage and all of the cans I'm going to have for provisions are probably going to make as much of a difference as the difference in the weight of the batteries. The last question I want to address is temperature control. The engine bay already has an exhaust fan that allows me to vent fumes from the engine compartment, and I'm keeping that. Not because there's going to be fumes per se, though if any of the rupture discs go, it'll be really nice to have the fan. Really, the reason I'm keeping the fan is the idea of being able to draw warm air or cold air out of the engine compartment. I will probably have a louver system or a grate somewhere in the front of the engine compartment underneath the companionway steps that will make it so that I can draw the air in from the living area, from the saloon area, into the engine bay. So on really hot days, I can bring in some cool air to cool off the batteries, and on cold days, I can bring some of the warm air in to the batteries and help warm them up. Now, one of the questions I had also was, how am I going to warm the boat? I don't know if the questions were so much for my sake or for the sake of the batteries, but in either case, I'm going to have a Dickinson wood burner stove. It's a little stove that burns either, well, wood or coal or charcoal, and allows me to heat the boat without any use of electricity. So if the boat ever got really cold to the point where I couldn't even discharge the batteries because they were so cold, I could put on the wood stove and just wait for it to warm everything up. Once the batteries have warmed up enough to turn on the fan, then I can start drawing in more warm air and continue to bring the batteries up to temperature so that I can start using them again. So heating's really not much of a concern for me, nor is cooling. It's going to be fine. So one of the big questions I have to figure out is, am I going to use really flexible or sort of flexible bus bars? I really like the 4x10 gauge. They're definitely my favorite bus bar, but trying to make 4 of them with the slightly different lengths, it's a lot of extra work compared to just making these single 4 gauge. Both of them we saw from Andy's testing, link below, easily handled 200 amps. The Anderson connector I'm using on these on the batteries are rated for 175 amp, and the BMSs I'm using are 150 amps. These will never limit you. It's not a concern from a heat perspective. So really the only question is, how much is it trying to push the batteries apart using a more rigid, flexible bus bar? The batteries are going to be well fixed in their box, and these will take their shape over time. I don't think it's a big deal, so I'm leaning towards using the 4 gauge. To know the length of the flexible bus bars I'm going to use, I need to make a decision on whether I'm going to use the snake design or whether I'm going to use the design that Grant from Utah recommended a long time ago. He had 2 designs. I'm going to put one up on the screen here, and then he also had another one here. In either of those cases, in one case, the jump was going like this. So I have, that would be main pack positive, main pack negative. I'd go negative to positive, negative to positive, negative to positive until I hit the back of the battery. Then it would jump across and work its way back down the other way. The other style he had, these would alternate every cell, and he has them jumping from one clear over to the other. And you see that this one that we have here lets me do both with a little bit of flexibility, but not a lot of waste. So this is positive to positive, but that's fine. So this length allows me to use both of his designs. That requires a fair bit longer than the snake design. The snake design uses, especially with these K cells where the terminals are set further apart, I've got very, 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 very short jumps to make. Oh, geez. Even this would be, yeah, see, I'd be using jumpers like that. So I could get away with far smaller cables, which would mean less internal resistance. So the total internal resistance of a snake battery is going to be lower, the sum of all of the jumpers. This is still, the snake design is still my favorite design. I'm just worried about the total width. If I do this design, can I make this even smaller still, or would that take too much of the flexibility away? Really, it's so small, and I don't think it's an issue. If If I go with this design, I might have to actually cut out the bulkhead underneath the pilot berth. If I did that though, I would definitely be able to get all of the batteries in, side by side, 4 of them side by side, and then 2 more center. My biggest concern with going with a long gumstick style battery, like I was trying to do earlier in the series, is that I have to remeasure, and I'm obviously not on my boat, but I'm pretty sure it was almost exactly 4 feet between the bulkhead in front of the diesel tank and the back of the engine bay. These in a straight line are 3 feet 11 before you add anything. That leaves me very little margin for stuffing these in, and it also puts the weight further back. It means that I could probably get all 6 in abreast. It would keep the weight a little bit lower, but I've got no real wiggle room there. I don't want to cut that bulkhead at the back because I'm assuming it's structural, it looks pretty stout, and obviously I don't want to do anything forward at the companionway. So the gumstick idea, I think, leaves me too little room to work with. The snake design means I'm absolutely for sure going to have to stack 2 batteries on top of each other, and that's going to get me really close to being under the bottom of the cockpit, like inside the engine bay. The roof of the engine bay is the floor of the cockpit. But I have more flexibility because right now I'm assuming they're going to go on where the engine mounts are for the current engine. I can drop those down. They stand quite tall. They might be too wide, but working those bulkheads under, like in the lazarette where you saw me sitting when I was doing the work, I might have to move things back a couple of inches, and under the pilot's berth where I installed the 20 amp outlet, I might have to move the bulkhead that's underneath the bed further out. Either of those, while annoying, aren't that big of a deal. So combining that with the fact that I would have less total resistance in my flexible bus bars, I think I'm going to go with a snake design and hope it works. So now, with that said, I need to figure out how many of these do I need. For each battery, I need 15 jumpers. Each one of these requires 2. I need 2 4-gauge number 8 tinned bus bars, tinned ring terminals. Use my plastic one. It's less boomy. I'm gonna need, it's 85 millimeters. I wonder if I could get away with smaller. It's a nice short one already. So the longest jump I have to make is this one. How much flexibility? There's a point where you get so small that you actually lose your flexibility. Yeah, look at that, how much that pushes that apart. No way, this is too small. So the benefit to this one, as we talked about before, even though it's more work, you can spread the 4 smaller cables out, and then it folds over and it doesn't fight you as much. You see how little spring there is. I also have this ability to twist. So if these here aren't in the same plane, I don't think I can show this in camera, but you can see how they're slightly out of kilter with one another. Trying to twist them, damn it. I'm saying damn it because I'm rapidly talking myself back into using the 4x10 gauge, and these are a lot slower to build. But they are definitely the better ones to use. It's gonna be a lot of work, but it's the right way to do it. Yeah, this is a good size for both. Hello. 80 millimeters is the length. He doesn't like jumping up on my lap, but he sure likes the camera. Hey, buddy? And I'm gonna need 4 by 80 millimeter 10 gauge wire. Oh, this is gonna be so much work. 80 times 4 is 320 millimeters times 15. Well, okay, one thing at a time. Next thing I need is shrink tubing. That is about 25 millimeter of shrink tubing. 2 by 25 millimeter. What size was it I was using of that shrink tubing? That's an important thing to know. 40 millimeter circumference. Well, 40 divided by pi is 40 divided by 3.14, 12. Half inch. Oh, I love switching between metric and imperial. That's just for the bus bars. This is all for one battery. I have one fuse. Why did I say that with so many pauses? I noticed in my editing, I talk with a lot of pauses. It's very annoying to try to edit and not sound horribly annoying. So the shrink tubing, I was using the clear shrink tubing. I guess I was using about 4 inches. 4 inches of 1 inch clear plus 1 by 200 amp T-class. I'm going to need one Blue C6006-200 M series switch. Oh, I think the connector on the stud side was 3/8. So for that, I'm going to need... Actually, why don't I just measure this, and then it'll tell me if this will work. Nope. It's got to be one of the big ones. I just had the big ones. Where are the big ones? Where are the big ones? Ah, here we go. Okay, so I need some of these. Some of these. What is some of these? Use those for the smart shunt as well. M10. Okay, 4 gauge by M10 for the back of the switch. I'm going to need 2 4 gauge Anderson lugs. No, I need 4 of them because I have to account for both sides. I need 2 by SB175 Anderson housings. I want to have the water, the protective jackets. Yeah, those things. What does Anderson call it? SB175 environmental boot. Load and 1 by source. Now I looked this up earlier. These are Hammond cable gland strand relief. So I need 2 of those. I'm not factoring in the 4 gauge wire. Now that I know I'm going to use the 10 gauge for the flexible bus bars, that's going to be the bulk of what's get used up. I have 2 full rolls of 100 feet of 4 gauge wire. That's probably enough to do the entire project, so I'm not going to factor that into this. Is there anything else I need? I got the T-class fuse. Oh yes, the balance leads, the terminals for going onto the M4 studs. I'm going to need 17. What size was I using before? Yep, that's the right size. 17 by 20 gauge M4 1/4 inch ring terminals. That is for the balance cables. All right, I got my main disconnect switch. I don't need the push button switch because I don't have the resistor anymore. So I have a wire going to the T-class to the switch out. Negative side was going to the smart shunt and then to the BMS. I'm going to go straight to the BMS. So that means I need to have, I think when I did the BMS, I did the 4 gauge to the 2 wire together, if I remember right. So I'm going to say 2 more 4 gauge to M4 ring terminals. Now I need M4 bolts and nuts for 1, 2, and then where the Anderson connector meets up with the BMS. 3 by 1/4 inch bolts plus serrated washers, or serrated nuts. Those. They have tinned version of these. They're a little bit more expensive. They're always on back order. Now that I'm doing the final build, I may actually buy them anyway. Should get a couple for the 12-volt batteries as well. And I'm not in a rush, so I can order the tinned versions and just wait for them to come in. Come on. There you go. I think that is everything I need for 1 battery. So let's put this into a spreadsheet. Yeah, buddy? What you on about, buddy? How am I going to do this in the spreadsheet? 320 times 15 is 4,800 millimeters. How the hell am I going to edit this together? A roll is 100 feet. Yay, unit conversion. Convert 100 feet into millimeters.
100 feet is equal to 30,480 millimeters.
30,480 millimeters per roll. I need 4,200 per battery. Gives me enough wire in a 100-foot roll for 7 packs. So 1 roll of 100 feet of 10 gauge will give me enough wire for 7 packs and change. Plus I've got the remnants of this. So I'm just going to buy another one of these, and that'll give me all of my flexible bus bars. Okay, so for the purposes of this video, we're going to call it $83, $82.33. Next thing I need is 2 by 25, so that's 2 inches, 30 inches. The shrink tube came in 4-foot lengths. The 4-foot length is 48 inches. 30 inches per, I need 6. Actually, you know what? I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 half-inch rolls. I may not need to buy any more shrink tubing. Divide by, I don't even need to worry about my shrink tubing. I have more than enough shrink tubing for the rest of this project. So I can take that right off the list. That's cheap. Next I need are these. And of these, I bought these in packs of 50, 2, 4, 6. I got 76 of these 4-gauge M4s. Hey buddy. Aren't you an adorable little shit? An adorable little shitty shit. Now my nose is going to start running again. 26 left. Alright, and I am going to need per battery. 15 times 2 is 30. 30 plus, and then I've got main pack positive to fuse is 2. Fuse to switch is 3 because the switch is larger. 4, 5. I need 5, so I need 35 per battery. Oh, to the BMS. BMS to the other end, to the Anderson is 10. I need 40 per battery. 40 per battery times 6. 4 and 6 is 12 is 24. 240. I have 74. 40 times 6 is 240 minus 76 is 164. They come in packs of 50, so I need 4 packs. So give me a lot of extra, but that's okay. Extras aren't bad. Is this not the most exciting video ever? I know some of you probably play EVE Online, so, you know, I know some of you are going to enjoy all of this. Buy 100 and I get them for $225 each. What if I just buy 175? That's going to be $393.75. Good Lord. Okay, that is those terminals taken care of. Clear. 4 inches. I have 1 stick of clear left, and I think this is pretty close to the full thing. I have 45 inches of this left already, and I need... Oh gosh, yes, I've got enough of this. I don't need to buy any more. The next thing I want are the fuses. The JLLN 200.X, I was going to order 7 of those. Next thing is the 6006200 switches. I got them from Holland Marine for $47, $46.95. I'm going to order 6 of the main disconnect switches, even though I've already got one. The reason for that is I'm going to want to have a disconnect switch for the 12-volt bank, and that's what I'll use it for. Puts all nice new ones. No vapor depositions on the new 48-volt batteries. We'll give that to the unwashed masses of the 12-volt world. I need 4-gauge by M10 ring terminals. Do I have enough of those? I have a very large number of my ring terminals, the 4-gauge to M10, whatever these are. 29, 30, 31. I have at least 30 of those terminals. I don't need to worry about those. That's going to be more than enough. Kepler, you haven't made an appearance yet. You want to say hi to the internet? Oh, I guess not. The next thing I need are the Anderson connectors. I am going to need 6. I can reuse the 2 I've got currently. I should probably have a spare, so I'm going to still order 6. I'm going to buy 6, 2 on either side, that's 4. 6 and 4 is 12, 24. 25 brings them down to $10, so I'm going to buy 25. 1083. 25 at 1083 per connector. Well, as soon as you say anything is marine rated, price goes up. $270.75 if I buy 25. If I buy 24, it's $301. So it's actually dramatically cheaper to buy 25. Now, I need the actual housing. And the 175 housing, I need 2 of them per 2 times 6. Yes, I've got one here, but I want a spare. Is 12. Is $19.22 each. $230. Okay, that's for the housings. Now I need the environmental boots, load, and source, 6 of each. Is $25.50. And then the Anderson must be 175 environmental load. I need 6. And their price is $24.30. Oh, this is getting expensive. Okay, so there's the load and the source boots. I need the strain relief. That is $12. And the price is $228. There we go. $2,013.49. Ouch. Not only is this a long and boring part of the project, it's so long I just killed my battery. I don't think I've ever, well, no, I have. Very rarely have I killed the camera's battery trying to film, but this is just a slog. But it's also an important part of the project. If you don't take the time to figure everything out, you're going to be spending a lot of money just constantly buying things as you realize you don't need them. And slow the project down because now you're waiting for parts. I don't know where the camera cut off, but I'm currently looking for the ring terminals for the balance leads. 20 gauge by 1/4 inch. Here we go. These are purple. Why are these purple? 35. 36 technically. And I need how many? I need 17 times 6 is 102. What's the price break on this? At 100, the price drops to $206. Actually, we're better off buying 105. Might as well make it 110 at that point. Okay, so now I've got the balance leads. I need bolts, but I'm not going to buy them here. I think I have everything finally. All right, let's make sure that my order sheet has everything I need. Oh, this is going to hurt. This is going to hurt. $1,855. Before tax. $2,100 with tax. I mean, that's what I need. In for a dime, in for a dollar. Fuck. Just sitting here making sure I haven't missed anything. God, this is a lot of money. I've done my numbers. I think it's right. Order placed. So there you go. You think the batteries are the big part of the purchase. I mean, they are, let's be honest, but just in miscellaneous cables and connectors and whatnot, it's another $2,100, and I still have to buy the switches and the spool of wire. You don't build an electric boat to save money, at least not an electric sailboat. Even with diesel prices the way they are now. This is a lot of diesel. But again, I'm doing this because I hate the sound of diesel engines that much. Call me a freak. I am. I will be the first to admit it. I mean, the upside is I can generate my own fuel. I have to be patient, but as long as I got solar panels, I've got electricity coming into my boat. Oh. And I haven't even talked about buying all the BMSs yet. Sacre bleu. Yeah, I spent about $1,100 for JK BMSs. $1,100 US dollars. That was $2,100 Canadian. I'm not doing the conversion in my head right now. It's too much. What did I say, 12,000? Let me do the math here. So using today's exchange rate, the batteries, BMSs, not counting the BMS and stuff I bought before, just the new batteries and the new BMSs, not factoring the old battery at all, 18,000 Canadian. I just spent $2,100 in miscellaneous parts to be able to assemble, not counting the case, these other 6 packs. So just in these new batteries, nothing factored what I built before, I'm over $20,000 in. I still have to buy the electric motor. That's another 15,000 Canadian. That's 35,000. I know I paid $4,000 for the Quattro. The old battery, I've got to be another, if I add all this up, everything else I've got here is probably another 10. It's 45,000. I paid 45 Canadian for my boat. I just bought my boat again. I'm the Digital Mermaid. I better go earn some money. Fuck. Oh. See you next time.